record. Hello and welcome to, I always laugh when I say this, the podcast, because the podcast is a bit crap. Nobody listens to it, but we're having fun putting it out there. We've got Ali Neal here, who I booked by mistake. I thought I was getting Ali McBeal, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself in a minute. But before we do that, remember, if you're interested in the work I do, which is working in schools, mostly care situations, colleges with neurological divergences, then please visit me at www.andrewwhitehouse.co.uk and also buy my book. But have you bought my book, Ali?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, great. Well done. Buy my book. You can get it. So you can get it on Amazon, and it's called Andrew and the Magic Give a Shitometer, Growing Up with ADHD, or you can get it on my website, andrewwhitehouse.co.uk. It's £2 more on the website, but I make more on the website ones. Amazon kind of like um, they don't like to give you too much money, so it'd be great if you could spare the extra £2 and buy them on my website, and I'll sign it to you. So Ali, hey, how you doing?
Hello, thank you for having me.
That's all right. Anytime, anytime. We met at, where did we meet? One of the autism
It was
shows.
the autism show in Birmingham.
Birmingham. God, good grief.
I
And,
know I had to follow you on stage, and that was a tough call, really.
was it all right? Did I get away with it?
You were great.
Was I wearing the bowler hat?
Yes, you were.
Okay, so it was quite funny because I was going through to try and get on the stage. There was all these people, and this woman said to me, "There is a queue, you know." And I was like, "No, it's me speaking, honestly. Sorry." So what do you do, Ali? What are you up to?
So I'm an occupational therapist,
Okay,
and I work with schools primarily, families and children, young adults, and even some older adults as well. But most of my work is with schools.
right,
And I particularly work with sensory processing difficulties,
right.
something that I think is very familiar to a lot of our neurodiverse
Yeah,
listeners, friends, family, school teachers. So I look a lot at sensory processing difficulties and how that is impacting on a way a child can function in school, succeed in school, make the most of their time in school, be happy in school. Being happy is the really important one there.
unbelievable. You've got to be ready to learn, haven't you? You've got to be
Yeah,
ready
you
to learn.
have. And you've got
Yeah,
to want to be there. The environment's got to be something that you find okay
yeah,
and you feel safe and accepted in
right.
order to be able to do that learning.
Absolutely, 100%. Do you think sensory processing, we've gone in a different direction already.
Have
Do you
we?
think, welcome to my world. I'm diagnosed ADHD. Boom, boom, bam, 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 bam. So, um, do you think sensory processing disorder is stress and anxiety related?
Absolutely, I do.
Right.
So first thing I'm gonna be pernickety about is we no longer call it a disorder
Okay.
because it's actually not there in any of our diagnostic manuals, any of our medical diagnostic manuals. It doesn't sit in there.
Right.
And I see sensory processing more as a collection of difficulties that somebody has.
Right.
So we don't say disorder anymore. And also, the people who have sensory processing difficulties don't particularly want to consider themselves disordered.
No.
I think that's very similar with our autistic community.
Yeah.
Don't particularly want to be labelled as it being a disorder.
No.
So, yeah, I tend to use the word, in fact, the words I use are interchangeable. I don't really mind what I use, whatever suits somebody, but I might say sensory processing difficulties
Mm,
or differences or sensitivities.
yeah. It's funny you should say that because an ADHD person, myself, I'm like, I'm not disordered. There's nothing disordered about me. I got here 9 o'clock this morning. I'm ready to go. I've
Yep.
got my own home. I've got my family. I've got all the things that, all the things that we want out of life. There is, there are obvious downsides to having these, and I'm inverted commas, disorders. There are downsides, but ultimately there's also a payoff, isn't there? You know, and
Yeah.
Yeah. Is sensory processing disorder, what are the links between that and auditory processing disorder?
Um, so auditory processing
And
disorder.
I've called it disorder again twice in that very
Yeah,
last
and I
sentence.
don't actually know. I think that one is a disorder because do you know what? It's
Hmm.
assessed by audiologists. So
Yeah,
there's a lot more specific testing around the ear and the hearing apparatus and
right.
how that is received and processed by the brain. So auditory processing is, it comes in under sensory processing, and I do look at it, but
Hmm.
audiologists would be the specialist there to
So
really see what's going on for somebody.
funny thing about that, because I've got that condition and my oldest son's got that condition. And and it we had, I mean, we had a really top audiologist at Queen's Medical Centre looking at my boy Isaac, and
Mhm,
she was she was like, I can't find anything wrong. But what she also said was, yeah, keep bringing him. I will work it out. We will find out. And that was stress and anxiety related. So for him, taking him to Queen's Medical Centre in Nottingham meant getting on a bus. Brilliant. When you're 5 years old, buses, come on. Yeah. Going off, having breakfast somewhere, going off being seen by the audiologist. They've got a dancing clown in a box that you can, all this kind of stuff. And they couldn't find anything wrong. And all the difficulties were at home and were
mhm.
at school. And that's why I initially asked you about the about the sensory processing difficulties. Why I initially asked you about that is it stress related? You see what I mean?
Yeah, I froze there for a second, Andrew. Sorry, can you just say that last bit again?
Yeah, that's the fact that he was really doing well at at on those days out, having his hearing tested, but then as soon as he got home, as soon as he got to school, it was difficult because home life was difficult and school life was difficult. You know. Okay, everybody, we're struggling with
You can see
signal.
me. We're struggling with signal. I am just going for a little wander through my house,
Oh yeah, nice
in
house.
case it's me, because I have a terrible signal and it usually works okay where I was sat, but
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
go wander and see if we can improve it.
Mm.
Right, I'll try again. So
So
yeah, you're saying that he was fine at QMC because
yeah,
it was exciting. It was a great
yeah,
day out.
day out on a bus, park and ride, park
Yeah.
and ride. Like riding the Dodgems in Nottingham. That is, you know. Um. So so then the weird thing was that I had hearing problems. Went to a well-known major chain of ophthalmologists that are now doing audiology.
Hmm.
No, sorry, Mr. Whitehouse, can't do anything to help you. Went to a top end audiologist, sorted me straight away. You need these hearing aids, bam, bam, bam. And
Yeah.
that's a big thing as well, isn't it? That level of
It's
professionalism.
understanding the difference because there's so many different things with hearing, and hearing's not my
Mm.
specialist
No, me
topic. But
neither.
I know there's hearing, and for me, I struggle with background noise, so I
Yeah,
can't pick things out from background. There's nothing wrong with my hearing, but
yeah.
I never know any gossip. If I'm in
Mm.
an office and everybody's gossiping, I can't hear it. I know
No.
nothing. I'm like oblivious to what's happening somewhere because
Oh,
I can't pick up those little.
you want to see me at
Oh, and
spin?
we're still freezing.
Don't worry about it. We'll struggle through. People will love us nonetheless.
I hope so. Hope
Yeah.
so.
You want to see me at spin class trying to listen to the instructions? Everyone's
Yeah.
ass is up in the air and I'm sitting down and everyone, oh man, terrible, terrible, terrible. So, meanwhile, back at the go-go, we're here to talk about ADHD and we went off on a tangent. I'm sorry about
You
that.
did. No,
Um,
I like tangents.
I like tangents. You know what? I love it. If I've got one guy that I work with and he'll say to me, "Can you do me a course on this?" And I'll say, "I'm sorry, I won't say his name because he's probably going to listen." And I'll say, "I'm sorry, I don't know anything about that." And he'll say, "Can't you go on Amazon and buy a book?" So, well, I'll give it a go. Um, so predominantly we're here to talk about ADHD. What does ADHD mean to you, Ali?
Ah, yeah. So from a so I will say I am neurotypical. So
Yeah.
I don't experience any of this, but I've been working with children for 20 years. I've been an OT for 30 years.
Mm,
20 years of that I've been working with kids. So I hear I've heard a huge number of stories over the last 20 years. How, for me, in a work sense, that I'm being told in school that kids with ADHD or that teachers suspect they've got ADHD are physically on the go all the time, and that's interrupting class. And how can we help with that? That's
mm,
usually my most common
yeah.
when I'm asked. When I hear the words ADHD, usually that's what's coming for me is they're on the fidget, they're on the go, they can't sit still, they're rocking on their chair, they're hanging off their chair. We're really worried they're going to fall off the chair and smash their head open.
Yeah.
What can we do to help?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see, this is straight away we've encountered a problem, haven't we? Because I'm with you on this 100%, yeah. But I think the expectations are so high of these children. So I was
Yeah.
working with one 2 weeks ago, and I was asked to go into this school. And this boy, I arrived at about 8:30, went into the classroom at 8:45. He was already sitting reading. Yeah. His lunch break was 12:25. So think about that. 3 hours. 3 hours. Yeah. Hang on.
Yeah. Over
Yeah.
three and a half.
3.5 hours. Mathematician, you see. Um, 3.5 hours with a 7-minute learning break and a 15-minute playtime.
Yep.
I was hanging from the rafters. I was going crazy. I was like, have I got to sit through much more of this?
Mm.
I'm 58. Do you know what I mean? I'm the professional here, honestly. And you're going, so really, yeah, over 3 hours sitting in the same place and you're expecting him to function. He was 10 years
I
old.
know. I know. And some of the schools, the special schools particularly, kids arrive on a minibus.
Yeah,
And some of their journeys, they can be on that minibus for an hour and a half. And then
yeah,
you add that into the mix. Or maybe they've got parents who work and they've been dropped off at school in the car,
yeah,
but really have sat for an incredibly long time. And you wonder why the attention goes, the focus goes. We're
yeah.
on the fidget, we're moving our body, we're seeking out all that movement, all those movement sensations.
Mm.
And it's no surprise.
No, it's not a surprise. And then of course you get the response of oh well, I mean the one that I really dislike is well, we're a mainstream school, and I'm going, really? Do you know what I mean? Do you really need to be like that? You've asked me to come in. I'm a professional. You're a professional, Ali. You know what needs doing. Most of the time, I expect you really just walk in and you go, well, there it is.
Most of the time, I'd say move more.
Yeah,
That seems to be the
yeah,
single biggest piece of advice I ever give
yeah.
is move more.
Did you?
Get the kids moving.
Did you? No, you wouldn't have done because that was in the London. We've got wobbly chairs now for
Yeah,
ADHD, wobble feet. We've got all
yeah,
these lovely resources.
yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. I love sitting on them. I love playing with them and things
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
some great chairs out there, some great resources that just give you that little bit of a wiggle. It really
Yeah.
helps.
No, I love it. I love it. So, do you think with ADHD, that do you think it gets the attention it needs? I'm not, no pun intended there, by the way.
From schools,
From everybody, I think, from society in general.
I think it's
Yeah,
improving loads. And then that brings up the old, well, this didn't exist in my day.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was thinking about the other day as I was walking around going, I'm sure most health conditions actually weren't heard of 50 years ago because we didn't know they existed.
yeah,
Doesn't mean
absolutely.
they weren't there.
I was of the opinion, I was hoping that people's understanding of neurodivergence and in particular ADHD, anxiety-related conditions had got better. And then I had a real wake-up call the other week. So I've got this car. It's a bit of a nightmare, my car. This bloody car, right? It's a money pit, but it's also just the most beautiful thing. I love it. And it's an old Jag, 25 years old. So it's not old, old, but it's old enough. And it rusts and it has all sorts of issues. And I blew the engine up on it at the NEC, actually.
Which Jag is it?
It's an S-type. S-type 3 litre V, whatever. I don't know. Lovely. It's just lovely. It's just beautiful. And you like Jags then?
I do, yeah.
What you got? Or what do you like?
I did used to have an F-Pace.
Right,
I tow a trailer. I have a horse, so I have to
right.
have. I don't have a Chelsea tractor. I have a four-wheel drive because I actually do.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Oh, just for those who are listening, we've lost our dear friend Ali again, but she's back
No, I'm
now.
back again. Back
Yeah.
again.
So this thing blew the engine up. Anyway, got on. You can't get a professional to fix cars anymore if they're over 3 years old. So I went on Facebook and I found a bloke who said he'd fix it by the weekend. And he had it 3 months, and he was just being an idiot, really. He was just not doing the job. And
Yeah,
I eventually, and this is causing me extreme anxiety. The major presentation in ADHD, in my opinion, is the anxiety. And so all I wanted was communication from this guy. So I sent him a message saying, please, I have a diagnosed condition that causes me to have anxiety. Now, I don't normally pull that line. Yeah. I said, I need from you um, a message every day. Tell me where you are. 2, 3 lines, whatever, 2, 3 words. He sent me a message back going, you're wasting everybody's time. You're causing difficulties. He even said,
oh,
I have to wash my hands every time I need to answer my phone and all this sort of stuff. And what got me was, okay, he was fine. I got my lawyer on him on the end, but what got me was this is a person our age, yeah.
yeah.
This is someone, a 55, 58-year-old bloke, yeah, in my opinion, should be woke. You know, there's no excuse for it. There's absolutely my 85 year
No,
old
there
dad.
isn't. But
Yeah.
I think some people our age, because I'm 50s as well, they seem to exist in a bubble that these things don't happen.
Mm,
And I know my parents in particular have said that since listening to me, now when they see what they previously would have considered a child having a tantrum in a
yeah.
supermarket or a
Yeah.
shop, they now think, oh, maybe
Mm.
it's not a tantrum, maybe there's something else there, and they are a little more understanding. But
And
that's
they're what, in their
particularly people that
80s?
don't have this in their world,
Yeah. You know,
they don't understand
but
yet.
they're what, in their 80s, 70s, 80s? These people are getting good at this now.
They're getting much better.
And I was just actually quite surprised that this bloke didn't go, no problem, Andrew, I can do that. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was asking for an elephant's ear on a bun, was it? You know? And so, yeah, it is interesting. And I think with ADHD, the understanding in the time, so like yourself, I've been working in this man and boy. In the time I've been working in this, I remember school teachers, if they got an ADHD child coming in September, they wouldn't sleep for the whole of August.
Yeah.
It's just and it's just not a problem anymore, is it? It is a problem, but not so much.
That I think they're in from
Oh,
and asking for advice on how to handle things,
mm,
which is a big, big improvement. They
yeah,
may not get it right, but we're not there yet.
mm,
Seeing big progress in just the asking and the desire to try and work with a child and improve things for a child and understand what the difficulties are for that child, what the barriers are,
yeah, yeah.
how we can work around them.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. And it's about using the conditions as well. I did a TED talk show off and
I
about,
listened to your TED talk.
was it all right?
It was great.
You
Yeah.
liked it? My
I
daughter's done
liked
one as
it.
well, but it's not about our stuff. Um, anyway, and I called it from disability to superpowers. Yeah. And now I'm not so keen on that superpower thing as I was then. When
Right.
I did that, apparently everyone who does a TED talk wants to go back and change it, but you're not allowed. And because I'm going, there's there's so much stuff that, yeah, this superpower thing is fine, but actually there's all the other stuff that, for example, your superpowers as a child not being recognized. My dad used to really take the mickey out of me for talking too much. And my line now is piss off, Dad. Now I'm a professional speaker.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't pick up on this stuff, did we? And it's pulling that out of kids, isn't it? But this,
But it's making it become a superpower. So I'm a massive Superman fan, right?
oh
I'm
yeah,
Yeah, Superman from the original. I absolutely love Superman. And when I'm doing teaching or presentations, I'll sometimes remind my audiences, because I bring things back to Superman if I
yeah,
possibly
of
can,
course you do.
about that bit of the early days when he heard everything and he
Yeah,
heard people around the world
yeah,
shouting for help,
yeah,
didn't know what to do.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's a real, I think that's going back to the Christopher Reeve days, because, he was the ultimate
He
Superman as
was the
far as
best,
I'm
wasn't
concerned.
he?
He was the best. But
Yeah.
I remember that clip of him hearing everybody shouting out for help and not
Mm,
quite knowing what to do.
yeah.
And then he turned it into his superpower. But before it became his superpower, it was really difficult for him. And it's turning it into your superpower.
It is, and finding it. I mean, I didn't find it for years, I found it by accident, which was because I was a bass player and I joined a band and I was the singer and the bass player, so I had to. All of a sudden, you're having to deliver,
Right.
and it turned out I was quite good at delivering. I wasn't a great musician and I wasn't a great singer, but I could get a crowd going in an audience and things like that. And and that moved on to then using my knowledge of neurodivergence and using that to sort of deliver talks and workshops and stuff like that. Quick question, well, two quick questions about Superman. What happened? Why is there only one page of the first ever edition?
Is
The
there?
first ever Superman comic. The guy who wrote it destroyed it, and he
Oh
only kept the front page.
no. Oh
I thought that was a Superman fact that everyone knew, but
no, I didn't know that one.
and secondly, sometimes when I sign off WhatsApp messages to my wife, I sign it "Love you like Superman." Is she a lucky girl?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. And Superman, it depends, because you've got the whole Superman Clark Kent thing.
Yeah. Lois
What
Lane.
was it like with Lois Lane? Yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't great for her. I didn't
Classic
want to be
line though,
Lois
wasn't it?
Lane.
The classic line, "You've got me, who's got you?"
I love that line,
It's the
that
best,
whole
isn't
scene. It's
it?
classic. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely classic.
You don't need the rest of the film, do you?
No, just that bit's
Just
brilliant.
that bit. Yeah. And if you could cut anything out, the one bit where he spins around the earth loads and loads of times, change time. Absolute
Yeah,
crap.
that's a little odd.
Yeah, no.
Quite understood that.
Fantastic. I'm more the Mighty Thor. I like the Mighty Thor.
Right.
So anyway, that's my one.
No,
Superman.
Thor's.
So hang on, we've lost you again, Ali.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm back. I'm back.
Oh,
It
it
might
doesn't
be
matter. It won't
showing
matter. People
okay.
will love it just the same. So Superman, was Superman ADHD, do you think?
Um, I I would possibly say not, because I think Clark was quite chilled and calm.
Yeah.
How he managed all that in his head, I don't know. And how
No.
he stopped that from being overwhelming.
So when we talk about, I picked up some information. I'm always learning, same as you, yeah. And I picked up some information about ADHD this week, last week, something about women with ADHD, yeah, which you are not. Um, and the thing about women with ADHD, and if you saw Bryony's video, as you said, check it out on this podcast, Bryony Farlow talking about her ADHD. She absolutely bucks every trend for ADHD in women, because the thing is with ADHD in women, the assumption is ADHD women are not hyperactive. Yeah. Well, I honestly, it's like I need a Valium sandwich when I've spent some time with Bryony, because she's just all over the place, and but so focused, but just so fast and stuff like that. Having said that, there's another woman called Genevieve, who is the opposite, and they're friends actually, and she's
Okay.
ADHD, but she's so chilled, yeah,
Right.
and therefore, and we describe her as the non-hyperactive type. Having said that, the hyperactivity, bit like Superman, is all happening in her head.
Mm.
So we've for years assumed that ADHD women are not hyperactive. It's not that. They're thinking of stuff all the time,
Yeah.
and it's
It's all
particularly
going
it's
on
the
up here.
yeah, it's all going on up there, and there was Professor Thomas Phelan, American guy, specialist in ADHD. He talks about women with ADHD about and girls with ADHD about the window in the classroom, staring out the window in the classroom. Yeah, and he calls them pleasant space cadets.
Right.
And he said, and you think nothing's that you think they're not very bright. Actually, they're brighter than you. You're just not reaching them.
Yeah.
And that's a thing as well, isn't it?
It's a big thing for kiddies in school. And I remember Bryony was talking about how awful her school time was,
Yeah,
wasn't she?
yeah,
And school, for me, for an individual, has got to be the worst times because that's the part of your life you have no control over
yeah.
because routines are set as they have to be because you've got 30 odd kids in a
Hmm.
mainstream class. So you have to have a routine. I understand that. But kids have no control over what they wear, when they have to sit down, when they can stand up and move around, when they can go to the loo, when they can get a drink, what they've got to think about at any moment in time.
Yeah,
But in my working life, I can vary all of that. If I get bored of something that I'm doing, I can switch and do a different project for a bit and give my brain a break, or I can get up and
yeah.
put the washing on and take the dog for a walk, get a
My
drink.
my sons take the mickey out of me because when I'm writing reports, isn't report writing awful?
Oh, I hate it.
Oh, I can't bear it. I always go, you'll have it in 14 days, and on day 15, I'll start it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite part of the job. I'm much better being out and about with people.
Yeah, me too. And I'll be wandering in and out of the kitchen every 20 minutes and stuff like that. And my boys really take the mickey. Don't know why, they don't do anything. But anyway, yeah, that whole kind of, you're absolutely right. And also, for example, in the world of work. So my thoughts are, if you will never be anywhere as diverse as school. I went to school with a bank robber, real life bank robber, a
Yeah,
diamond diver, an estate agent, a men's hairdresser, and all these people I went to school with. You're never going to mix in circles like that. I only mix with people like you, you know, who work in this world. That's all I do. I just mix with people. But at school, you're expected to get on with the bank robber,
yeah.
you know?
You have to get on with everyone and you
Yeah,
have to fit in. You have to want to wear those clothes.
yeah,
You have to want to sit on that chair. You have to want to write on that book with that pen that they give you.
yeah. Do you know what saved me? And I don't know if you will. I wasn't into punk rock, but there was a punk rock generation. I believe that the teenagers at that time, yeah, whether they were into punk rock, there was a vibe going about. You
Yeah.
don't have to listen to this rubbish, kids. You don't have to listen to this rubbish. You don't have to trust the police, or you don't have to, and all that thing. And I swear it set me up for life.
Okay.
You know, I'm a rebel, you see, Ali. Absolute terrible rebel.
Yeah, but a bit of rebel's good, isn't it? Otherwise, we'd never get anywhere.
Well, even now, I say to my kids, my daughter was interviewed by the police. I said, just watch yourself. And he did pull a fast one. He said to her at the end of the interview, he said, just off the record, who do you think did it? He said to my daughter. And that's,
Ooh.
yeah. But she'd been trained at the school of dad. So
So what did she say?
I can't tell you what she said online.
It
But
was a good answer then.
she's a woman of few words, but one of them's off.
Fair enough.
It's all right, isn't it, really? So we've gone into rebellion. We've gone into rebellion and stuff like that. But so what about secondary schools then, Ali?
So they have their pros and cons. From an OT perspective, one of the big benefits of secondary schools is kids move around from class to class
Yeah,
between lessons, and
yeah,
they have backpacks that weigh an absolute ton. I've lifted up my teenagers' backpacks when
yeah,
they're going to school, and I cannot believe how heavy they are. But from an OT perspective, those kids are getting a movement break
yeah.
with a weighted backpack
Mm.
naturally as part of their day. And some of the secondary sites are huge. So they're walking big distances, they're going up and down stairs. That actually really helps
So those backpacks,
that part of their day
are they a
can
good
be
thing
really
then? Those
helpful in
big, because I
secondary
was
school.
always,
So I
my
see
kids
some
have left
kids
school
do,
now, but those big backpacks, I always say to my kids, do you really need all these books today?
yeah.
Do they?
But for some kids, wearing that backpack, it's really quite regulating, and doing that
Yeah.
with the backpack that makes the walk heavy harder. So we're using our muscles and our joints a little bit harder to do our walking, and that
Oh.
enhances the movement breaks.
Well, you
So
heard it here first, folks. But that
yeah,
had never crossed my mind. And I use weighted collars, weighted blankets. I use all that stuff. Never crossed my mind.
secondary school backpack.
There you go. This is why we have the quality like Ali on the show, on the podcast. This is why you're here, because
So
you
for
transcend everything else.
So for some of the kids I work with, going to secondary school is a massive bonus
Yeah.
because you get that built-in movement break. They're not doing that, as you said, your primary school kiddo that was there at 10 to 9 reading, lunch breaks 20 past 12. They probably get a 15-minute playtime in between, but they're
Mm.
in the same place all the time.
Yeah.
Just in secondary schools, every 50 minutes or so,
Yeah.
we're moving classroom.
Yeah.
And that weighted backpack can massively help.
And the personality thing as well. If you don't like your maths teacher, yeah, you're going to be with your geography teacher in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
you've
is
only got to hold
helpful.
it together for that little bit. You haven't got to do all day, every
No,
day, with the same teacher.
I know my kids. I mean, I got lots of kids, and they were like, they had teachers they hated, absolutely hated. Some of them rightly so,
Mm,
yeah, it was. I mean, I go into secondary schools, and the line that really bothers me is, "We can't meet need." And I find, and this is a massive generalization, the primary schools go, as you explained earlier, we need help to meet need.
mm.
The secondary school will go, we can't meet need. And that's almost like a shut down thing,
Yep.
and you're like, oh, and I think they've got a very difficult job because, I mean, maybe I've misunderstood it, but to me, they've got to get the results. They've got to get results, 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 results.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and there's kind of some of these kids who probably aren't going to get the results they need and are presenting with challenging behavior, which, I'm sure you know about me, I don't believe in challenging behavior. I only believe in anxious behavior.
Mm.
Um, I don't believe any child, yeah, does this on purpose.
No.
But they've got this challenging behavior in inverted commas. They've got the teacher desperately needs to get them to know this fact by the end of this lesson or have this skill. And you can just see it, can't you? Do you know what I mean? It's just really,
Yeah. The pressure, I think,
oh, poor
is
Ali's gone
massive.
again. Oh. So just to fill this little bit of a gap here, poor old Ali, she's gone again. And I don't know what's gone on. I've turned off my phone. I don't think there's anything else going on around the house. There's nobody in. But as we've lost Ali. But as we're saying, that pressure on those secondary schools is absolutely massive.
Ah,
Hey, Ali.
hello again. I don't know what happened
I
there.
don't know, but you know what? We'll get through this. It'll be fine. It-
Yeah, my signal's showing is fine, but I
yeah,
do live
mine
in
is too. Mine is too. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? But
maybe it's
what?
because the sun's shining today.
What about
That's
it's the
thrown everything out.
yeah, might be that the tortoise might have chewed through something.
Oh, I've still lost you again.
Oh, no, so
Ah,
the tortoise might have chewed through something.
the tortoise might have chewed through it. It could well have done. I wondered if it's the sun shining because it's so unusual.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it? The sunshine. So ADHD, right? And we're back to it again because this is what this little podcast is about. What do you find in the way of coexistence with other conditions? That was such a great question, and we lost Ali again.
Yeah,
So
I'm back again. Back
so
again, but
what
I
do
lost the
you find
question.
in the way of coexistence, co-occurring with ADHD?
Oh,
Am I
lots.
am I coming down piling too much on you, by the way? Because I've got so many. Honestly, I just got to say, I met Ali at the Birmingham Autism Show, and I went, I'm just drawn to this person. You were funny. You were
I was.
really funny, and clearly really clever. And I like clever people, and had loads of stuff to say. And I thought this is great. And but I had a limited time to ask you the questions before you pissed off down the pub.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you had me on that post-talk high, you deliver
Yeah,
a
yeah,
talk,
yeah.
there's hundreds of people there. It's exciting. Yeah, I went down the pub. I'm sorry.
No, it's all
I
right.
went.
Absolutely fine by me.
You were still signing books.
I was signing books, yeah. Andrew's rubbish book.com.
I don't believe that's what it's called.
It's only got about 80 pages, you know. It's a disgusting travesty to call it a book. So, yeah. So, as an OT, oh,
Oh,
come on, Ali,
oh.
stop. As an
Yeah,
OT,
I'm back. I'm back.
I know you're back.
Yes.
I know you're back. As an OT, what interests me is so I'm a specialist in neurological disorders, not clinical, educational. Yeah. So I'm kind of ADHD, autism, PDA, stuff like that. You're doing everything, aren't you?
Yeah. So as an OT, we tend to focus on what are the difficulties somebody is experiencing in their day-to-day life that
Right,
is stopping them doing the things that they need and want to do.
right.
And my focus is that. So I'm not diagnosis led.
No,
It helps to know because, if I know that somebody's autistic or if they're ADHD or they're PDA, then that gives me a little bit of a heads up about how they might prefer to be worked with.
yeah.
But I'm led by the difficulties, solving the problems
Mm,
rather than managing the diagnosis, because it's not about a diagnosis for me. It's more about, okay, what is the difficulty for you? Why is school hard?
mm.
And what can we do to solve that problem and make it better for you?
See, I wish my job was like that. Because, it is, for me, it is, but for other people, it's less so. So if you've got a child with a dual diagnosis of autism and ADHD, they will say, "Oh, what's causing that? Is that the autism or the ADHD?" And you go, "For me, I'm going, I don't care.
I
How
don't
can I
care.
meet need at this point in the conversation? Because you actually opened this conversation with, you know, these conditions didn't exist 50 years ago." Well, autism did, but not in general knowledge. But
They did,
and
but we just didn't know.
exactly,
They weren't recognized, didn't have a name for them, right?
yeah, exactly. And so we've got this kind of going on, and it's rather, what can you do to help that person?
Yeah. What can we do to help them be the person that they want to be, do the things that they want to do, or
Yeah,
sometimes the things that we have to do, because unfortunately we have to have an education. Yeah,
yeah, we
it's
do, we
it's
do.
one of the laws. We have to get through it in whatever form that takes,
Having
but it has
said
to be
that,
done.
the kids are very good at bucking that system. I've got plenty on my books that haven't been to school in years.
Yeah, but at home, I think there's an expectation that there is some learning that goes on,
Yeah.
even if you have that EOTUS package.
Mm,
So we have to get through it, and it's how do we maximize your learning, and how do we prepare you for life as an adult,
yeah, absolutely.
because maybe you want to go to work and earn a salary, but maybe that's not you, but
Mm,
meal and wash your clothes.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
All those things that,
interesting because school never suited me. Did school suit you? Were you good at school? I bet you were, right, little swat.
I was a bit of a swot.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were. I knew it.
I was really bad at sports.
Were
Really,
you?
really bad. Yeah. I couldn't catch a ball until I was in my
No, me neither.
20s.
No,
And my husband then actually taught me to catch a ball when I was about 21 because I was
really.
useless. So I have my strong memories of school are that being picked for the sports team, when they called your names,
Last person.
always the last person.
Oh man, give, give me skin, sister. I was on that one. Last, absolutely crap,
Yeah.
absolutely dreadful.
Yeah. But there were other things that I was good at. I ride a horse, I've run a marathon, but none of those were part of school PE sessions. So they didn't count.
No.
My superpowers there just didn't count. They weren't interested in those.
So I did running and I did swim marathons and cycling and all that once I left school. And I wasn't crap at sport. I was crap at school sport.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. Crap at
Yeah,
school sport.
yeah. And I go to my spin class now 3 nights a week.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Can't hear a bloody thing that's going on. I've got no, as a hearing aid user, I'm just useless. But as an ADHD hearing aid user, I'm even more useless because I forget to charge them. So it's like, but yeah, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And that takes us back to that school's not for everybody thing again, doesn't it?
School's not for everybody. No,
I mean,
no.
I've mentioned my dad a couple of times. He's on my mind a lot at the moment because he's not very well. But he yeah, when he found out that I was going to train as a teacher, he thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard. Because he said, "You were never bloody there, son," because I was always off having a fag somewhere, or you know, and uh, and then any listeners in America, what I'm talking about is I was going for a smoke. Um, but anyway, I was off school. They thought I'd moved schools. I was there so little. They thought I'd
Right.
gone. There was no record of Andrew Whitehouse in school. And then when he found out I was doing school advisory services, he nearly lost his false teeth laughing. But school, horrible environment for me. Horrible. You know,
Yeah. It's such a set, rigid environment
yeah,
that people have to conform to. And I do understand why. I totally sympathize because you can't make one environment suit everybody.
no,
But it's really hard for the kids. I don't think they'll ever have a challenge as big as school because when you as an adult when you go out to work you can choose the kind of life you want. So if you
mm,
want a very physical job, I might suggest to somebody they become a dustbin man
yeah,
because you're walking around, you're lifting, you're dragging your heavy dustbins.
mm.
uh, it might really work for somebody.
I
Someone
was a
else might
dustbin
want to
man.
work from home and be on their own and be in their own little cupboard,
Yeah, some
and that's
people, I
fine.
hate it. I was a bin man, Ali,
Yeah.
when I was a student. Yeah,
I
yeah, I was
think
the worst.
it's got a lot going for it. From a sensory perspective, it's got a lot going from it.
Oh man, those blokes were not salt of the earth though. They were horrible. They were really horrible. And I
Were
would be
they?
like, oh, awful. I remember, I used to get these bins and put them on the back and they'd go up like that. And
Yeah.
instead of tipping out and coming back down again, mine used to go over the top and get crushed. And there'd be all people phoning the council going, my bin's gone missing and stuff like that. I was
That happened to me
crushing.
a couple of years ago. Was it you?
Well, probably not a couple of years ago, but yeah, I did a lot of that when I was a student. Yeah, and I was just like, oh God, I hated those guys. I absolutely hated them. There was always this kind of like alpha male stuff going on, you know. I always remember I hated this one bloke so much. I was reading a book, and he went, "What's that you're reading?" I said, "It's a book. You wouldn't have heard of it." So, but school, going back to school, you're talking about the rigidness, the rigidity. I can
Yeah.
remember, yeah, there was the rigidity, and alongside the rigidity was chaos. So you couldn't even go to the toilet. So everything was all
Yeah.
rigid, and then you go to the toilet, and there'd be five guys in there going to take your shoes off you,
Yeah.
and you're going, oh man, you
Yeah.
know, it was that kind of, and if the punks didn't get you, then the skinheads would get you, and if the skinheads didn't get you, someone else would get you, and it'd be like, oh man, you got to like, it was like going into the war zone.
Difficult, isn't it? And if you're a little bit different to
Yeah,
Cruel, really cruel to
So
pick up on it.
my wife Elsa went to a talk on that same day as you spoke, and it was someone from the ADHD Foundation. And I'd done this talk wearing a bowler hat. And the idea with the bowler hat was, I was just like, I'd been in a shop and I'd seen a bowler hat and it fitted me and it was brand new and it was really nice. And it wasn't black, it was green. I want to swear. Do you know what I mean? It was a flipping green bowler hat that fitted perfect. I'm on this, right? And then my wife, Ailsa, went to one of the talks. She's a teacher of special needs, and it was from the ADHD Foundation. They said ADHD people are drawn to unusual clothes and things like that. Am I? That explained everything, absolutely everything. Do you know what I mean? And it's
Mm.
like, and I thought, God, I didn't know that. I
And
actually,
when are you not allowed to wear unusual clothes?
when
In
other people make it
in
difficult
school.
for you,
Yeah, and in school is the biggie. In an
the,
office, maybe, but
yeah.
you can be a bit more eccentric as an adult, I think. But in school, you cannot deviate from the uniform.
So you've got Superman, yeah. I've got
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes, yeah.
Okay.
All the different incarnations. My favorite is the Johnny Lee Miller one, the American one. But anyway,
Okay.
all these different incarnations. And so one Christmas or birthday or something, my wife bought me a deer stalker. Do you know how good deer stalkers are? They keep the sun out your eyes, the sun off the back of your neck, and you can cover your ears and keep your ears warm. It
What's
is,
not to like?
it is absolutely the most perfect piece of hattery. What's it? Millinery. Yeah. And a perfect piece of hattery. You walk down the
Hattery should,
street and
hattery should be a word. That's a good word.
yeah, it is, isn't it? And you're walking down the street and some asshole makes a flipping comment. And you go, who invited you to the party?
Yeah, none of your business.
None of your business. Absolute. So the green bowler hat was me making that point.
Mm,
And believe it or not, it was after that we found out from another ADHD specialist that actually, that's a thing. That's an ADHD thing.
yeah,
You know, my one of my sons had a friend with ADHD, and he used to wear a purple top hat at the
nice.
weekends. Yeah, why not? I just go, really. It's like all sorts of things. And do you know what I think about ADHD people? I think they're some of the kindest, most understanding people I know.
Mm,
Because they just know what it's like to be kind of like picked on,
yeah,
for just that whole kind of like that daring to be different.
yeah, yeah. Do you think it's helped you knowing that, knowing those things?
So my knowledge is a bit
Getting the
messy.
diagnosis, knowing that the wearing unusual things is all part of it. Is that helpful knowledge?
I didn't get a diagnosis till I was 50 odd.
Mm,
And so I was doing my job not knowing why I understood it so well. I didn't know I was ADHD. And it was a few various people, professionals that kind of said, I think you're ADHD. And I was like, I think I would have noticed, don't you? And then turns out I am. And I'm so obviously ADHD. Why I didn't spot it, I don't know. But people used to say, oh, you're eccentric. You wear unusual clothes. That was a big one. Yeah. I used to say, well, I'm only going to blooming Debenhams like you. Do you know what I mean? I'm
yeah.
only going to sort of Top Man. I'm thinking of particular sort of 70s and 80s places. I'm only going, I'm shopping in the same shops as you. What makes it so eccentric?
Mm,
But it's true, and it was true, and it's just this thing. Helps me now. Do you know the most important thing to me is I'm not mad. I thought I was mad. What a
yeah,
horrible thing to grow up thinking.
totally horrible.
Yeah, and I'd be like, why can't I be like everybody else? And now I'm pushing forward that don't be like everybody else.
Mm,
You know, we
yeah,
need the neurodivergent people.
absolutely.
You need, I mean, in my case, what I do is I will, well, gosh, I'm like a dog with a bone. When I'm on something with a child, working on a child, for a child, I'm like so into that. You can't, there's no stopping me. And I'm going, I think that's part of my neurodivergence. I think that's something to do with it. It's like anything really. I mean, but I will purposely go into the charity shops and buy a load of clothes that don't match and go because I want to. And why
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 not?
shouldn't I? And why
Why
should
should you? Who wants to be boring?
well, who wants to be boring? And it's like, all these debates. Um, I went into a post office the other week, and that's the other thing. When you're neurodivergent, I think things follow you around. And and so I went into a post office just to collect a packet, and there were two members of post office staff
Hmm.
complaining about gender. And they were both, I mean, I should have reported them really, but what's the point, Going, there are two genders and that's it. And you know, and I remember I wanted to just get involved and go, do you realize how ridiculous you are? You know, but ultimately, there are a whole load of people living, um, there are a whole load of people living the way they want to live. Yeah. And I think that's wonderful,
Yeah.
you know? And I just see people and I go, I don't really care what your gender is. If you care, that's great, or what your diagnosis is. And I'm not putting gender as an illness or a disability. I'm just talking about, things that people get het up about, and I just go, let people get on with their life.
Yeah.
Because if you're lucky like me, you're not coming back.
No, being comfortable in your own skin, being able to do
Absolutely.
the things that you want to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
as an OT, I come back to occupation. Yeah, our name is occupational therapist, and people think that's about work, but it isn't. It's about anything that you want to do, anything you want to engage in. Yeah,
Yeah.
being on your podcast, that's my morning's occupation. And I'll be taking the dog for a walk in a minute, and that'll be the occupation. And then I'll be making a cup of tea, and that'll be my occupation. But
Yeah.
it's being able to do those things that you want to do,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want to achieve,
Absolutely. And
even if it's
it's
just putting your socks on. In
and
fact, I
there's
had a whole conversation yesterday about bottom wiping because weirdly that crops up a huge amount. And just what a problem it is if you can't wipe your own backside.
well,
Now, who wants
I've
to have somebody
done
else do it for them?
more visual timetables for wiping your bottom than anything else, I reckon. Because if you get that stuff in the wrong order, you're getting in a
You're
mess, aren't you?
getting in a right old mess. And
Uh,
isn't it the one thing you really want to be independent with? Yeah.
um,
Somebody
is it the
else wipe.
one thing?
Not the maybe not the one thing, but you definitely want to be
It's
doing
got to be
that.
up there, though, isn't it? It's
Got to
got to
be
be
up
up
there
there,
for
isn't
me.
it?
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh dear. I see you're taking me on another, but we're
I'm an
Ali.
OT. I can always bring it back to wee and poo at some stage in the
Yeah, you
conversation.
did the last conversation we had, didn't you?
Probably.
Yeah, no, you
It always
definitely
happens.
definitely did. I'm at an age now, my prostate's knackered, you know. I'm like nothing works like it's supposed to. Do you know what I mean? It's just going for a wee for me is just standing there waiting for some action. It's just you know, but
Turn
there
the
you
taps
go.
on.
So
Turn
I'll
the
do
taps
all
on.
that. I'll do all that. Yeah. Ali, you're fabulous. Honestly. How can people get hold of you if they want to get hold of you, which I can't believe anyone wouldn't.
Oh, well, at the moment, the best way to get hold of me is on Facebook.
Right,
So I am Midlands Occupational Therapy with Ali Neal.
right.
I have a separate thing for schools, actually, School Sensory Solutions. If you have a look on Facebook at School Sensory Solutions, you will find me there. And I have a free Facebook group for hints and tips for teachers, really, all this sort of stuff.
Fantastic.
And my job over, because today is the last day of school term, here in the Midlands for me anyway. My job over the summer is to get my websites back up and running because I took them down for a spring clean about 2 years ago and they haven't gone back up yet. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this a bit later on, you should find my websites. Look up School Sensory Solutions or Midlands Occupational Therapy. and you will find me.
Fantastic. And I'm willing to bet that you're going to be found somewhere riding a horse in blue lycra. Yeah,
Very definitely. Very
yeah,
definitely. Possibly not
fantastic.
today because it's a really, really hot day, but tomorrow morning, that will be me.
And that, just before you go, is the horse thing the most important thing in your life, or one of them?
Definitely one of them. Yeah,
Mm,
she was my midlife crisis. So I got
was
my horse
she?
when I was 45, my first horse.
Right.
Love her to bits. She
Oh,
drives me to distraction
yeah.
and she's amazing.
For me, it's that car. Getting in the car and listening to tapes. Tapes. Fantastic.
It's great. You know where you left them, don't you? You just start off in the same place. It's great.
I was listening to the talking book of the Titanic story, and I put in tape 2, and it all got chewed up.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, I found another one on eBay. 50p. Bang on.
Well done.
Peace and love to you, Ali. Thank you so much for coming on. You were absolutely magnificent. We'll get
Been a
it out there.
pleasure.
We'll get it out there as soon as we possibly can. And please, please stay in touch. It's been magnificent speaking to you.
Will do. And hopefully see you again at another talk sometime soon.
Oh, definitely.